Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. My name's Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe. Might confuse some of you, primarily focused on XD, but I'm hanging out these 2 weeks to take part in the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. We may even slip a little bit of XD in there, you never know. But if you are tuning in live here on Behance today, let me know in the chat who you are and where you're tuning in from. We've got Nushin from Toronto, and Gal, and Z by HP Tech MKTG, or Rick in brackets. Hey Rick. Fairy and Masayu, Tim, Lena, Umacorn, Anika, Kimmy. Great to see all of you. Hope you're all well on this Tuesday. It is officially pumpkin spice season. I am not sponsored, by the way, but I'm excited. Pumpkin spice is back. I don't know if you're all pumpkin spice fans. If you are, leave a little pumpkin emoji or a coffee emoji in the chat. All right, so, Rick says there are subliminal XD messages in the stream. You never know. All right, look at all the people coming on in. Great to see all of you. If you are new to the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge, today's day number 1. So here's how it works. Head on over to behance.net/challenge/Photoshop. You get all the information that you need about these challenges. So what we're going to be doing is over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be giving you one challenge every day, Monday to Friday, except the first Monday, which was yesterday, where we kicked off and explained how all this fun stuff is going to go down. Definitely press that big blue button at the top if you haven't registered yet. You don't need to register, but it's nice to get notifications when new challenges are available. Ralph loves pumpkin coffee, me too. Lena says, had pumpkin spice all year. Ooh, I wish I could have pumpkin spice, but there's something about like saving it to fall season that just makes it so much better. All right, so every single day you receive a challenge. You can join us in our community chat. If I hop over to Discord, right over here, we have 2,396 people. Now it's 95, someone just left, rude. 2,395 people online right now. It's a wonderful community. Hop in there, have some fun, ask questions about Photoshop, but more importantly, share your work. If you're participating in these challenges, you can share your work in the challenge channel. And if you're participating in past challenges, which I would definitely recommend as well, you can submit your work in past challenge. And we have some great mentors and moderators and folks from Adobe who are in there all day, every day, giving feedback, and it's a wonderful community, so definitely hop in there. And speaking of past challenges, if you scroll down, there's a ton of them. You can just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and just participate in all of them. If you need something to do and you're already finished these challenges, or you don't feel comfortable taking part in these ones just yet, definitely take part in the previous one. All right. Does pumpkin coffee have pumpkin in it? You know what, Daniel? It probably doesn't. It's probably just some sort of flavor, but it tastes great sometimes. So you can also watch us daily. I'm live 9 o'clock Pacific time every day during these challenges. And then finally, you can share your work. Again, in Discord, in the challenge channel. Or if you want to share it on Behance or Twitter, you can use the keyword or hashtag PSDailyChallenge. And if I type that in here, PSDaily, bam, there it is. You can browse the work from fellow members of the community, which is amazing. So you can see what they're up to. You can get some inspiration. There's some really cool stuff on here. But if I head back over to the daily challenge, right down here is where the challenges are going to unlock. Fairy says, I love vanilla coffee. Me too, I like vanilla. Usually I get like a vanilla type thing, but pumpkin spice is around. So this is where the challenges are going to unlock. And today is day number 1, and we're going to be focusing on select and mask. And the prompt is to extract reusable components from a photograph using selections and masks. And towards the end, I'm going to show you how to save some of those assets to your Creative Cloud library so you can access them in various applications, including Adobe XD. All right, so if you haven't yet, definitely go ahead and grab the starter file. Click on this one right here. If you want to, I don't know why I'm telling people this because you're watching the video right now, but if you want to watch it again, I suppose that could work. You can press the watch video button. You can watch it all over again. All right, vanilla, pumpkin, or cinnamon are my top 3. That sounds pretty good. All right, Bernadette seems excited about masking. So we're gonna go ahead and hop into Photoshop and get going. So this is the template. This is what you're all gonna see inside of your work. And right over here to the left, we have a welcome screen. And it goes over where you can get the starter files, where you can watch the live streams, and also the prompt. So again, today's challenge is to use selections and masks to extract objects from your photos. And then over here to the right, we've included a few practice files to get you going. Now, I would encourage you, if you have photos of your own, definitely use those. Get excited about this, get creative with it. You know, if you have a photo of your dog or your cat or your hamster or whatever it might be, throw it into Photoshop and use some of these techniques to extract it from the background. And then again, I'll show you how to save that to your Creative Cloud library. I also have some asset credits right over here. And one thing I want to point out is if you don't have photos of your own and you don't necessarily want to use these ones, whether you don't like them or you just want to get a little bit more creative, definitely go over to Adobe Stock. But you don't need credits necessarily. It'd be great if you did have credits because, you know, there's some great images out there, but we do have a completely free section with, I think, like over 80,000 assets or something like that. And you can type in basically anything you want up here and you're gonna find something. Cute cat, right? And now we have free images and possibly even free videos of adorable cats. So you can definitely download, you know, this would be a great one to use for extraction. It's a nice solid background. It's a great photo. All right, hey Megan, great to see you. Abnu, great to see you. Laura, and then General Kenobi, Stony, Bruce, Bryce, sorry. I think I messed up Bruce's name yesterday, and today I messed up Bryce's name. All right, so here we go, into Photoshop. And during this challenge, I really want to focus on several different types of extraction methods. Some will be very simple, some will be a little bit more complicating. So let's go ahead and start with this thumbs up photo. And of course, all these methods will definitely come in handy when you're doing some of the edits. Some of them may come in more handy than others. Is that a word, more handy? I don't know. It is now. All right, so what we're gonna do here is, we have this layer here, this thumbs up layer selected inside of the layers panel. And what we essentially want to do is extract the twisty arm hand thing, whatever it might be called, from the background. Now this one is a fairly simple example, right? What we're gonna do is we're gonna start by exploring the magic wand tool. And that can be found over to the left in the tools bar. And right here, the magic wand tool. And essentially what's gonna happen is you have this tool, as you can see right here, right? And when you click on an area inside of your image, it's going to look at the color that you clicked on, and it's gonna select similar colors that are around it. And in this case, when we click, because basically white is the only thing around, it's selecting all the white. Now, what it didn't do is it did not select this area down here. So what we're able to do is we're able to hold down our Shift key on our keyboard and click again. So it's going to add to the selection. Now, if you were to hold down your Alt or Option key, Option on the Mac, Alt on Windows, and click, it's going to subtract from that selection, right? Which is great. So now that we have our selection ready to go, there are a few ways to delete or extract, right? One way to do it is to simply press delete on your keyboard. Now, you're probably not noticing much of a difference right now. And this is important to note because on an artboard level, the artboard has a background applied to it. So if I select the artboard by clicking on it, right, and I go to my properties panel, you're gonna notice that the artboard background is set to white. And because that foreground of the image was also set to white, it didn't look any different. But if I switch this to transparent, now we can see kind of what's going on, right? But I do want to undo this because I'm not a big fan of deleting. So let's go back to our selection, just like this. Before we delete it, I'm going to set the background to transparent one more time. But this time, I really want to focus on masking. And that's the second part of this challenge, select and mask. And I think masking is such a crucial part to photo editing and Photoshop. It's just going to save you so much hassle. So right down here at the bottom of your layers panel, You've got, there's my dock. Let me go ahead and hide that down here. Right down there. Hopefully I can't really, there we go. Okay, add layer mask, that one right there. It's hard to zoom into that area without the dock popping up. So when you press that, that's not exactly what we want, right? So let's explain what exactly happened, right? When you have a selection and you press the add layer mask button, it's going to take everything that's included in the selection. In this case, it's the white background that we use the magic wand tool to select, and it's going to hide, or it's going to apply black to that selection and the layer mask, right? But in this case, we do not want that to happen. We want the hand and arm to be visible and not the white. So there's two ways to do that, right? One, we can invert the selection. So if we go up to the select menu and then go down to inverse, it's going to basically reverse the selection. So everything that was not selected is going to be selected, and everything that was selected is not going to be selected. And now, if we press the same add layer mask button, bam, there it is, right? It looks exactly the same as it did when we deleted, but there is one key difference. But before I get to that, I want to show you one more trick. Some of you may know this one, some of you may not. Let me go back to before I inverted the selection. What I want to do is, if you remember, when I clicked on the add layer mask button, it, as it should do, it removed the hand and the arm because that was not selected. However, if you hold, instead of inverting, if you hold down your Option key on the Mac, Alt key on Windows, and click on the Add Layer Mask button, it's going to reverse that for you. So it's going to apply the opposite, which is wonderful, right? So you don't necessarily have to inverse it. You can just go right down there, hold down Alt or Option, and click, which is exactly what we want, right? So we now have our layer mask looking pretty good. Now let's talk about layer masking for a second. As you can see right here inside of the layers panel, we have this black and white layer. So white is anything that's white is going to be visible. Anything that's black is going to be not visible, right? So you have to keep that in mind when you want to make changes. Now, this is a fairly simple example, so we probably don't need to make too many changes. But if we wanted to, we would simply grab our brush, shortcut B, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. We can right click to access our brush picker and adjustments. And, I'll just bump up the hardness just a little bit. And now if we go ahead and brush with, let's say, black, we can hide parts of that layer, right? So we can remove this guy's thumb if we wanted to, just by painting black. And the massive benefit of all this, which you did not get when you pressed delete previously, is that it's all non-destructive. So you can easily just switch over to your white brush and paint that thumb back in. Or of course you can undo it if you're still in that active session. But if you've closed the document and then open it up again, your history is not there. But your layer mask will always be there. So it's very easy to just grab a brush, paint in black or white, and then reveal or hide, right? Let's take a look at another example. We've got this guy over here, looks very shocked at what he just saw through his binoculars. Don't know what that is, but maybe in the chat, let me know what creative things did this guy just see in his binoculars. Chances are he was looking in my office window, watching me design, watching me use Comic Sans, and was just shocked out of his mind. That's probably what would happen. So we want to go ahead and let's extract this guy from the background. Now you can use a similar technique, right? You can grab your magic wand, shortcut key W, and click. Now what you're going to notice is that, Lena says, shocked about the power of masking. I agree. He saw pumpkin spice latte. Could be that too. Creepin' peeper, well, possibly, who knows. A sneak peek at Adobe Max. There's some good stuff coming. So what you probably noticed is it selected most of the yellow at the top because it was basically similar to what I clicked on. But there's a lot of shades of yellow down here that are just too different. So Photoshop erred on the side of caution and it did not select those. There are a few things we can do. If we undo, we can increase the tolerance level at the top. Basically, if we have the tolerance level at 1, it's going to select only the pixels that are exactly what we clicked on, which is why it selected just 1 pixel. Not very useful, right? If we do 10, it's going to expand that a little bit more. We had 32. Let's go up to, I don't know, let's say 50, right? And now we're seeing a little bit more. Of course, like the other example, we can hold down our Shift key and click. Oh, someone's internet's going, oh, buffering issues. Oh no, is it me? Nope, might not be me. Could be YouTube, I don't know. Hopefully not me. Yeah, so you can shift, click, and select additional ones. That definitely works, right? But let's explore a different tool. So in the same flyout, if you hold down your mouse where the magic wand tool was, we have the quick selection tool. And this will allow you to click and drag over the areas you want to select. So I can just click and drag, and it's going to select all this area here. And it does a pretty good job at selecting all the yellows, right? Now this image does extend a little bit further over to the left. That's why you're seeing some of this selection kind of pop out to the side there. But it's doing a pretty good job. And just like with the magic wand, you can hold down, your Alt-Option key and brush over the area you don't want selected. And you notice when I let go, I'm going to undo that again. When I let go, Photoshop kind of realized what exactly I wanted selected or not selected, and it filled in the rest, which is kind of smart, right? So that's looking pretty good. The selection is looking decent. Now this area here, we definitely need to go through and make a few changes, just like that. Then we can dive in here, make some selections there. And then very similar to what we did before, we can hold down Alt-Option and click. And then we've extracted him. Now, it did an okay job, but it could be better, right? So let's explore a few other ways we can extract this. Because I can just go on for hours about all the different extraction methods that Photoshop has. There's just so many of them, and many of them work in different situations. I'm actually going to go ahead and change this to transparent one more time. Perfect. And one thing you'll notice is if you're inside of the properties inspector and you have an object selected, you might notice a remove background option. This is if you want to very, very quickly remove something from the background. Boop. Easy, right? Not perfect. Sometimes it'll be better than others. You'll notice down here, we have a little bit of yellow popping in, but you may also notice that it applied a layer mask. So very easily, like we talked about before, we can grab our brush tool, switch it over to black, and just paint out this yellow. And again, it's all non-destructive. So the remove background feature does a pretty good job, and it also automatically applies a layer mask, which is quite nice. But it's not perfect, right? So let's undo, and let's look at yet another example. Are we gonna talk about shadows in Photoshop? Probably not. Maybe in one of the other challenges, but not today. All right. Another option is to, so someone actually before I get to this other option I was talking about, Mayur is asking about the select and mask option. So let's dive into that. So what I'm gonna do is I have this layer selected again. I'm gonna press W to access my selection method of choice, right? It could be any of these, object selection, quick selection, magic wand, doesn't matter what it is. But right at the top, you're gonna see these two options. Select subject and select and mask. If I press select subject, what Photoshop is going to do is it's going to look at what it thinks is the focal point of this image. Now in this case, it's a very simple image because there's basically just one guy with a set of binoculars and a background. So it won't have much of a hard time with this. But if I press that, you're gonna notice, bam, it selected the subject. It also did a pretty good job, not perfect, but it did a decent job at selecting this area here. But I can dive in here and make some changes if I need to, just like that. And now, if we did go ahead and press the add layer mask, it did an okay job. But what I think Mayur was talking about is using select and mask right here at the top. And this is great for more complex objects, especially subjects that have hair or fur. So if you're dealing with people or animals, select and mask will definitely help you out a little bit. So if I go up here and press select and mask, it's going to take me into this new experience. Not fairly new, but new based on what we were doing, right? Select and mask has been around for a while. And at the top here, there's a few ways we can view this. We can view it on black, for example, and then we can adjust the opacity. If you had additional layers, you can view it on layers. You can view black and white, which really gives you an idea as to what the selection is going to look like, right? You can see all the little hairs here, but it's not perfect. So if you really want to make sure to refine it, let's go ahead and go on black maybe. There's a few ways we can refine it. Right down here, music in the back. Is the music too loud? If the music is too loud, let me know. I can definitely lower it. But right down here, we have this edge detection feature, and this is kind of cool. If we turn on Smart Radius and then increase the radius, Photoshop is essentially going to go around this subject, and it's going to look for finer details like hair and fur, and it's going to add those to the selection. So if I turn this down, if you take a look at the hair area, it's adding a little bit more of that in there, which is really nice. And if I switch over to our black and white, you can kind of see how the hairs are a little bit finer now, which is really nice. And then down at the bottom, you can add some additional refinements like smoothing. So smoothing won't work really well with hair, for example, so I'm going to avoid that. Feathering, probably not either. Contrast, possibly. It might, it'll sharpen up the midtones, and it'll, give you a little bit more sharper hair in some cases. You can also shift the edge either inwards, and takes a second or two to update, or outwards, right? So if you wanted more or less of that hair, you can easily do that. And the last thing I want to touch on here, let me switch over to on black maybe, is right over here to the left, we have our various options, including the refine edge brush. So if you didn't necessarily want to use the radius tool and edge detection, right? Because maybe it's affecting the arms a little bit too much. You can grab your refine edge brush, this one right here to the left, and you can simply paint around the hair. And very similar to that edge detection feature, it's going to do a much better job at selecting those individual hairs. As you can see there, right? It's done a much better job. And then I can maybe shift the edge inwards a little bit, maybe increase the contrast a touch. And then what's really important is down here at the bottom, when you're happy with your result, you can output it. Now, one thing I would recommend, and let me actually switch over to on black for a second. There is the option also to decontaminate colors, which is great if you're working with, let's say, a green screen. I do find, for example, if you don't have a lot of, flooding of green or yellow or whatever it might be on the subject's body, I would probably avoid decontaminate colors because sometimes, as you can tell, it overdoes it. And of course, you can dial it back a little bit. It helps, but it does mess with the masking a little bit. So I would recommend keeping that off and then exporting or outputting as either a layer mask or a new layer with a layer mask, which will duplicate the layer and then add a layer mask. So you always have that original kind of preserved. So if I press OK, you're going to notice we now have a really nice selection. So if I go behind it, maybe make a new layer, let's choose a different color, maybe this blue over here, and apply it, right? We've got a pretty decent selection. Now, of course, it's, again, not perfect, but it works. And you have a layer mask, so you can always dive in here, grab your brush, make it nice and small, and just paint out this little yellow bit over here, right? There we go. All right, so the last example we want to touch on, and again, I would encourage you all to find photos of your own. If you have a desk, take a picture of your desk with some stuff on it and just practice a little bit. This example here is really going to showcase the power of the object selection tool. Now you may remember we had the select subject tool, and if we press that, it selects a few objects, right? But there's so many different objects on here that, it doesn't really know what object you want. So in that case, if we hop over here, again, where the magic wand and quick selection tool is hiding, we have our object selection tool, and this is so cool. If I want to select the scissors, I just make a selection, drag a marquee selection around it, right? And it selects the scissors. Again, it's not perfect. It'll get you like 90% of the way there. Same thing with this one. I just select it. I can do this one. I can also hold down my shift key to select multiple objects. And it does an okay job. Again, not perfect, but this is kind of where you might want to hop into select and mask and make some changes, right? So I might want to hop in here, just deselect this. I'm holding the Alt or Option, deselect. Make sure this is all selected, right? Which I don't believe was before. There we go. You can shift the edge inwards a little bit. Radius in this case probably won't do much of a difference. I might want to contrast it a little bit. And then let's go ahead and export it as a new layer with a layer mask. I did miss quite a few pieces, but you get the idea, right? So there's a few selection methods in Photoshop. I didn't even cover all of them, including blend if and color range. There's a lot, and I'll definitely be covering more as these challenges go on. But that is going to wrap it up for today. Definitely get creative with this. Find your own photos. Take some photos outdoors of your cats, of your dogs, of your fellow humans. Pop them into Photoshop and try to extract them from the background and maybe even put a silly image behind them. Could be a lot of fun, right? We're going to be covering more of photo composition as these challenges go on. But a big thank you to everyone who has tuned in today. Umacorn and Steve and Bernadette and General Kenobi, Marsha, Nushin. Who else do we have in here? Alexandru, Masayu. Great to see you all. Stick around. Mike Jones is coming up in just a few minutes, and I will see you all tomorrow.